Folks, shout out for Veterans Day 2016 to all of you who have served, will serve, and are serving. So today's the topic of today is new trainees, stages of training, and what we're going to call basically the rate of adaptation. So there's two components here. The first one, I'm not going to go through all of these because I've already done a separate video on this stuff. I'll just post the link to this video. But the first couple are what's important. So we're calling these stages of training. And I don't care what training program you're talking about. Basically, what the point is, when people first start something new, there's a very similar categories or stages they go through over time. And so we broadly define them as uncertainty, being committed, being obsessed, burnout, and what we call mastery. All right. So our main focus is really in these top three. So a lot of people that may start a new training program they go first through a phase of uncertainty. They're not sure if they can do it. They're not sure if it's the right fit for them. So they're dipping their toe in the water, so to speak. That's where most people begin. Then once they get their feet wet, so to speak, they feel committed, they're going to go a little bit further into the program. And then we have this next phase, which is obsession. This is where we drink the Kool-Aid. This is where we're just all in. You're seeing fantastic results. You're dropping weight. You're getting stronger, and you're training 4 or 5 times a week. You're trying to get 2 days in sometimes. Like, you're just all in. You've bought the shoes. You've got the knee sleeves. You've got everything you need. This is a great thing. This is a great place to be. The hardest thing as a coach to put into this phase of training is restraint. Right? It's pulling people back. It's harnessing that power or that commitment level, that obsession level, and not reaching the next phase, which is burnout. And I'll post a video to get more in depth on these. But the main point I want to stick with is, if you're someone who has gotten through that uncertainty and you're in that committed kind of obsessed phase where you're just training hard, you love everything about what's going on with your new training program, the importance of restraint is just absolutely huge. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is. So we'll move from here to here. This is what we're just going to call rate of adaptation. This is like exercise, physiology 101. The bottom we have time, we have low to high adaptation. The whole point is this: if you take somebody who hasn't trained in 10 years and you put them into an effective training program, those first 3, 4, 5 months, the changes, the adaptations will be significant, right? Especially if we say we have somebody who has a very poor diet, they're drinking soda every day, eating fast food, they're not working out in any way, and all of a sudden we remove all those toxins from the diet, we clean up the food, and then we put them in a good training program. We're going to be losing weight significantly. We're going to be adding, PRs to our deadlifts, to our squats, to everything we do. We're going to see significant change. And that's what we have here. That's what this line is. This is our performance, right? So over time, our performance, if this is, let's say this is 4 months, and the time frames can vary depending on the individual. But in that first 4 months, your rate of adaptation is incredible. It's going to be fast. You're going to be adding, you can double your PR on your deadlift because maybe you've never deadlifted before and the first time you did it was 75 pounds. Well, after 4 or 5 months, you could easily deadlift 150 pounds. The point, though, that needs to be understood is that will not always last. Most of those initial training gains, especially from strength, are purely neurological. And so you get better at moving, you get better coordinated, and so you add more weight to your lifts. The important thing is that over time, let's say this is 4 years, the rate of adaptation is very small. Okay, now we're down. This is our adaptation line. This is our performance. And we have this top dashed line is what we're going to call our genetic potential, right? The most you could, whoever you are, the most you could perform at. So the closer we get to that genetic potential, the less significant the gains will be, right? So if you set a 100-pound PR on your deadlift in your first 6 months of training, after 4 or 5 years, you might be looking at 5 to 10. 5 to 10 pounds would be a nice achievement, a good goal. Okay, so it's important that we understand and we don't get too attached to those initial wins, right? They're good, we should celebrate them, but we need to harness them. Because as we go along with our training program, the second dashed line is what we call your complexity of your programming. Early on, a very general program can work for the vast majority of people. As you get better and better and years go by, it needs to be more complex, it needs to be more nuanced, it needs to be more focused on the individual. So if you find yourself in that first stage, and you're obsessed, you're committed, you love what you're doing, always remember to show a little bit of restraint. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I think the most opportune time, most prime time people are set up for injury is in that first 6 months. After they get past being a little nervous and they get past committed, now they're all in, they're just training really hard and their body still has to catch up a lot. There's still a lot of catching up to do. We can suffer some overuse injuries and get some inflammation, just some tweaks. So I like to be able to leave the gym many days on that first 6 months, many days leaving the gym saying I could have done more, could have gone a little heavier. Showing that restraint will ensure that we continue to see progress for years to come, and we're not going to, hopefully, we're going to avoid this burnout stage, right? So that we don't get to the point where after 12 to 18 months, we've trained really hard. Because what happened, a lot of the reason for that burnout stage is totally psychological. You go, I was crushing my PRs and my deadlifts and my squats and all my times that first year, and now I can't seem to set a new PR, right? It's been 3 months and I haven't set any 5 pounds on my deadlift at all. That's just part of the training progression, okay? Your training may need to be a little more complex, or we just need to build up some other aspects of your training before you're gonna see the results. So your first 6 months of results will not be repeated over time. You'll still progress, they just get smaller and smaller. So keep that in mind, show some restraint, and train for life, not for the next couple of years. Cool.